So these are some gargoyles and grotesques that I found in the architecture in Spain. I was in Barcelona, and these are some of the ones that really appealed to me. They're on churches and a lot of the architecture in Barcelona, Spain. Now, the idea of a gargoyle is that there's a rain spout in there and it comes out the creature's mouth, and as it comes out, it makes a kind of a gurgling sound, thus the name gargoyle. So it's an onomatopoetic name. These are some sculptures from this is a sculpture from the British Museum that appealed to me. So we're just going to be making some sort of interesting kind of grotesque sculptured faces. What I'm going to be doing is sculpting them roughly, and then I'm going to let them get leather hard, and then I'm going to carve them once they're leather hard to get more detail. So what I have here is some Cone 6 mid-range fire stoneware clay, and some slip, which I made out of the clay, which is just clay plus water. For tools, I have a variety of paint brushes, and I have some of these, a fork for slipping and scoring. I also have some of these rubber tip tools, which are very good for shaping. But mainly I'm just going to be using my hands. So let's see. First thing I'm going to do is make a little pinch pot, but I'm going to keep it thick this time because I know I'm going to be carving later. So I'm not making a perfectly round pinch pot. It's actually more like an egg shape, and it's thick. It's got maybe a ½ inch thickness all around. It's much thicker than if I was actually making pottery. So I'm going to put it down here, and then I'm going to, I think I'll go for the eyes first. I'm going to just sort of pinch in to make eyes and pinch out to make a nose. So at this point, I'm not adding or subtracting anything. I'm just sculpting. So I'm going to go underneath to make the bottom part of the nose, and I'm just forming the clay. Now I want to make the cheekbones and that structure, and now the chin. Okay, so if you'll notice, the eyebrows are up here near the top of the face, so I need to give a little more height to the head. So I'm just pinching to get a little more height. The eyes are going to be here. I'm going to add them on. And the mouth is going to be here. I'll add that on. So if it's a small area, you can use a tool like this for slipping and scoring, or you can use a potter's needle. For a larger area, you would use a fork. So I'm going to dip this in the slip, and I'm going to scratch where I want the eyes to go, here and here. Notice how I'm scratching in 2 different directions. Now, if I didn't have one of these little wire tools, I would just use a potter's needle. So right here is what I would do. It takes a little bit longer, but scratch in 2 directions while dipping the point of the potter's needle into slip. So it should look a little bit gooey and messy just where I scratched. Now, I'm going to be doing the eyes. Just make a round ball of clay, but before pressing them in, I still need to score and use slip in the areas that will be connecting, because when you connect 2 things in ceramics, it's like Velcro. They have to lock into each other, almost like puzzle pieces. Okay, so I'm going to make up my own character. I'm not copying exactly from this ancient figure, but I'm noticing interesting things about his eyes. I think I'm going to add some coils for the eyelids. So I'm sort of thinking of this for the top and this for the bottom. Now if I just mush those on there, they will pop off later, and that's not good. So what I need to do is I need to slip and score them on so that they stay in place. So I'm going to remove these. I'll grab my handy dandy potter's needle. And if you just keep in mind that things in ceramics tend to pop off in the kiln as they're firing if they are not slipped and scored, and that they will be very sturdy and strong if they are slipped and scored, you will be very successful when you make hand-built sculptures in ceramics. You just have to always make sure that you do the slipping and scoring on both sides so that they can lock into each other. If the clay is wet enough, you do only need to apply the slip to one side, but you always need to score both sides. Now at this point, I could use my fingers, but some of these rubber tip tools come in very, very handy. Now, my daughter taught me this technique, which I think is truly wonderful. She uses a paintbrush and she dips it in the slip, and she actually just paints in the direction that she wants things to go. And it ends up being this very interesting way of carving. Just gradually, you don't have any fingertips in the way, and you get these very beautiful, very smooth directional strokes that really enhance the sculptures. Now, I call these either gargoyles, or if they don't have the hollow mouth, for a rain spout, you can also call them grotesques. We're not trying for pretty here. We're not trying for pretty faces. We're trying for expressive faces. So you can make monsters, you can use animals, you can try and make sort of monstrous looking people. They can be old, they can be wrinkled, it doesn't matter. The idea is that you aren't necessarily trying for pretty, you're trying for expressive. So it does help to have something to look at as a reference, but that does not mean that your artwork is going to match your reference or even look realistic. If you get frustrated as you're doing this, please do not crumple it up and start over. Just keep going. Remember, it is okay if it looks a little ugly. That's what it's supposed to look like. It's a grotesque. It didn't look ugly, you'd be doing it wrong. The other thing, though, to keep in mind is you're going to be making about 5 or 6 of these. So, you know, some of them are going to turn out better than others. And if you keep going and you finish each one, you may surprise yourself. The one that you hated at first might be the one that turns out the best. So we'll come back after, well, what I'll do is I'm going to just quietly sculpt this guy, and we'll come back after I'm done. Maybe I'll speed up the camera, and then I will show you what to do when he's dry and how you carve into him and add texture. All right, here I am again with my gargoyles and grotesques. Ideally, I should have waited until my faces were leather hard. They're actually a little bit soft, but I did wait a few hours to finish this tutorial, so hopefully these guys will let me carve them. So I now have a different set of tools. Ideally, you would wait till the next day. I have this pointy, let me see if I can focus it. Sorry about that. I have this little triangle pointy tool here. I have this little scoopy carving tool here and some other miniature carving tools. I also have the paint brushes that I used earlier and some slip. So I'm ready to begin refining my creatures and adding detail. So first I want to show you some of these gargoyles and grotesques from my recent trip to Barcelona, Spain. So you can see the texture under the eye here and some texture marks along here. And one of the things you're going to notice is that these artists skillfully followed the form of the creatures they were creating and added texture and detail that went along with what was already there. So that's what I'm going to attempt to do. So I'm going to start out with this slightly pointy tool, and I think I'm going to give him some bags under his eyes, just to sort of enhance his expressiveness. He's not going to look any prettier, but he'll look more expressive. And now I'm going to take my paintbrush, dip it in a little bit of slip, and I'm going to paint in the same direction, kind of emphasize this form without getting my finger marks on it. So this is after brushing and before brushing. You see how it looks a little rough here, and here it looks more like a natural part of the face. So I'm going to continue to do that. I'm just going to clean off my tool, or I'll get another one. Again, this one has a little pointy triangle shape, and I will just continue adding wrinkles and details to this guy without overdoing it. And the idea is to just do a shallow carving, take out some of the extra clay, and then use a paintbrush with some slip, painting in a very deliberate direction to kind of smooth out and emphasize what I've already carved. I'm going to just continue to do that. And yes, you can use your fingers as well. Here I am pulling off some of the extra slip. Yes, you can use some of your fingers as well, but what I like about the paintbrush is that I'm not getting finger marks on here. I'm just emphasizing detail. And you can just sort of think about how noses look, how faces look. You can look in a mirror. I love looking at photographs that I took of things that inspire me to kind of get ideas. So I'm doing it in a very intentional way. And I'm going to use this sort of scoopy tool. The idea is that I'm not just carving with a potter's needle because I'm taking some clay off. The problem with carving with a potter's needle is that, let me see if I can find a potter's needle here. Okay, let me clean it off. It's got a lot of goop on it. But it's going to mess you up to carve with a potter's needle, and I'll show you why. It makes these lines, but it doesn't take out any of the scraps. So I have now extra stuff on either side. It doesn't really remove anything. Whereas if I use something a little broader, like this, it's going to carve and it's going to remove stuff. And then when I go back in with my paintbrush, it can remove more and emphasize what I've already carved. And this is a very patient process. You're not going to get the exact results that you need right away, and you don't want to overdo it. A lot of people find it very relaxing, this phase in the sculpture, very relaxing and meditative. If you try and rush through it, it's just not going to look the way you want. So I'm at this point gonna probably just keep sculpting him, and I'm going to speed up the film so that you can get an idea of the process.